Do you like UFOs?
Do I like my folks, like my parents?
That would be a very personal question to begin with. Do you
I was
like
like, damn.
do you like UFOs?
Oh, I fucking love them. I was just telling my therapist yesterday how bad I want to meet one. and and no, there's apparently like places you can go. I was actually meaning to Google it. I wrote down the name. Um, fuck, it's in my phone. I don't want to like get distracted immediately, but there are places where the activity is higher and like shamans and shit.
Oh,
And like,
mate, it's Skinwalker Ranch.
dude, I know about Skinwalker Ranch. Like, I remember I was waiting so long for that documentary to come out, and I was telling somebody about it. This is like 20, has to have been like 17 or 18, probably 18. And I was telling them, I was like, let me see when it comes out. And I pulled it up and it was like, comes out today. And I was like, ah. And it's the only thing I've ever like, the only movie that I've ever bought on iTunes because I couldn't find it anywhere else.
Right.
And it wasn't on like streaming. So I paid like $20 and it's still in my iTunes.
There's a series as well.
It's like a show.
Yeah, there's a whole series. It's like
What's it called?
I think it's just called. I think it might be called Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. It's a whole. I think it's Discovery Channel or History or one of those channels.
Ooh,
one of those. One of those.
Yo, you're right. It's History Channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, I can't think of anything other than UFOs or UAPs as they've been rebranded recently.
Right.
So I
unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Just to make it a bit more palatable to people who've spent, all their lives scoffing at the idea of there being.
That's the problem. UFO is too like Party City now.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, sorry. Party City is a store in the US where you get like little toys and figures and like there's like alien like type stuff and like it's just like birthday parties. It's like it's very like kiddish and like.
Oh right,
yeah.
right. I feel like every time I interview a musician from now on, I'm just going to start it by asking if they like UFOs because I just can't think about anything else. I can't think about it. Like how basically I've always believed in aliens and
same.
Like much like any other kind of phenomena, like I've always been. Well, like maybe it isn't exactly what people think it is, but if enough people are seeing it, then that's interesting in itself. Like I'm not sure I totally believe in ghosts, but people keep seeing ghosts.
I do.
Oh, have you seen a ghost?
Yes.
Tell me everything in minute detail about that.
Dude, I don't even know where to begin. Like, there's been so many things. Like, I actually just got my apartment cleansed like maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago now at this point.
Cleansed? What, like by an exorcist?
Not like a full-on, like, it's not like a possession kind of thing, but I had like a healer come through and like clean everything. Because I mean, I do it. Like, I've got sage and I've got like a whole bunch of shit. And, I have to go through and do it sometimes just to like be sure. Because I think I've always had stuff around me.
Right.
I'm not like I kind of like used to hear stuff and like see things when I was younger.
Okay.
And I would always sort of like shut it out. I remember my one of my teachers in elementary school told my parents that I should be in therapy, and they're like, all right, sure. And so they sent me for like a little bit, but apparently the whole time I only talked about ghosts. I don't remember it.
That's
but
amazing. How old were you?
Yeah, but anyway,
Four.
Sorry,
you were 4.
Let me think. I was in 2nd grade, so that was probably like maybe I was like 7.
Oh, okay, right. I was going to say 4. Yeah. 4 seems a bit Jerry Springer to be going to therapy.
Yeah, no, that's a little wild. Actually, yeah, that's when they were like, yeah, and I just kept talking about ghosts, and they're like, yeah, he has ADHD, and I'm like, you're not listening. But yeah, no, before the band was like full on like, you know, traveling and doing everything, I used to, and before this too, I used to like, basically it was like 60 or 70% music, and then like 30 or 40% paranormal stuff, like going to paranormal places. Dude, I did not do it right. I was a fucking idiot. I used to play Ouija boards like all the time, like every other day. Um, it was a whole thing. Like, actually, I was just telling one of my or I was telling someone the other day, like one of the, like, we were talking about how kids do stupid shit, and like maybe it wasn't like in an interview setting, it was just like talking, but I used to go to my friend's house and we would just play it constantly, and we'd drive to like paranormal roads, or like, you know, we'd go to like Galveston, because we, you know, we grew up in Houston, Texas, and there's areas that are like particularly like more like haunted in that area, or like, you know, you go to Galveston because like so many people have died there and everything. But it got to be so bad because I would spend all my time at this friend's house. Like, I would straight up be seeing like faces leaning in from the doorway, and I'd look up and it would like, I could see movement, and like it was just like horrible vibes. And I was just like, oh, we fucked up like really bad. I was only like 15, 16, but I was like, this is not right. And we actually, one of the sketchier things that we did with that was, you know what? Let me actually tell you some more shit about that place first.
Yeah,
so
I've
then
got,
I'll tell you the.
Yeah, tell me everything.
Okay.
Basically,
and then I'll tell you our sketchy solution.
Yeah, go on then. Yeah, I've got. I mean, I have to admit, I am sort of slightly preparing a contrarian view to hit you back with, but I'll let that marinate, and you tell me everything.
Okay, so yeah, like I said, we used to play the board like all the time in like my friend's game room, and it was always just really sus. Like, and when we first started, I remember we were using like, I think we were using like a shot glass or something as the planchette, and we're like, oh, it's not working that well, blah blah blah. Let's, and like one of our friends is like, hey, you can use ours, and we're like, cool, let's go pick that up. And so we were like, okay, be right back, blah blah blah, and like we just like left. But like, you know, we didn't do the whole like say goodbye thing. We didn't like we didn't end it right. And I swear on my fucking life, I promise you, in the duration of this and in general, I just will not lie to you. So we were going out his back door, and you know, it's like the smaller kitchen area, medium area with like the fridge and the stove and all that. Then there's like a small little hallway and the laundry room. The dryer door, as we were like about to leave, just started going doo, 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 doo. And we were like just looking at each other, like, because there's like four of us, and we're like, what the fuck? And one of, like, it wasn't me. I was like, no sir. One of them like went and like was slowly turning on lights, had like phone light out and stuff, or it was like the phone screen because there weren't flashlights there, but turn on the light, just nothing in there. We're like, oh no. So things just like continued being like that for a while, where there would just be like weird noises. I'd be like seeing figures. There's just like just like bad vibes too. But for some reason that did not stop us from playing more. But there was one night where it felt really bad. We're like, we really should do something about this. And one of our friends was like, so my older sister's, it's like a friend's older sister's friend. It was like a whole thing. They're like, they can do cleansing and like healing and stuff. We're like, can they come over? And we didn't want to tell my friend's mom. So because I mean, it's like sketchy, but we invited this fucking stranger into my friend's house at like 1 or 2 in the morning to come like cleanse it while his mom was sleeping. And so we had like the windows open and shit. And they were just going through, like, here's what was interesting though. They were going through rooms looking for like where the energy was like, you know, different. And I always had really bad vibes in like his upstairs bathroom. I was like, something just doesn't feel good. And then obviously in the room where we were playing it all the time. So they were like, seems fine, seems fine. They get to the bathroom and they just stared for like 2 minutes, didn't say anything, and then walked away. And I was just like, that was weird. Because normally it's just like, I'm not getting anything, move on. When they got to the other room, they were like, this is where it is. There's a portal in here, right there in the middle of the floor. I'm going to have to like, they like opened up the windows. We're doing all this stuff. I don't even know what they had, but I was just like, oh my God, they know.
Wow.
Yeah. Trying to think. There's like a million stories, man.
So here's my thing, right? So
okay.
Where I was at before was like, I guess that like, I probably lean more towards believing than not believing, but I guess that even if we're not talking about the paranormal, I think the fact that throughout human history, like so many people are saying that they see things, that's just interesting in itself. And I guess this is my kind of counterbalance, is that, you mentioned ADHD.
Okay.
I have OCD, and it has, with my experience of that disorder, with treatment and learning more about it and learning how to manage it, I've learned so much about neurology. And I have had obsessions in an OCD way that are almost within the realm of psychosis. So I have convinced myself of things that are insane, really. And with that comes, years ago, I had a friend who told me that they lived in a house that was haunted. And I would often go to this friend's house. I used to work nearby. I used to work in a music venue. This is like 20 years ago. I used to work in this music venue in Newcastle in England. And their house was like on the way between where I worked and my house. And I would stop there for a cup of tea and watch some telly, listen to some records, talk some shit. And I was there one day, and they've been talking about this ghost being there for a year prior. And one day I was there, my friend said to me, would you like a cup of tea? They went in the kitchen, and within probably like 30 seconds, I felt a hand on my shoulder, and I said, thank you. And they from the kitchen went, sorry, did you say something? And I freaked the fuck out because I genuinely felt a hand on my shoulder.
Yeah.
It wasn't them. There was no one else around. That's pretty spooky. But at the same time, I know how complicated and weird my brain is. So on some subconscious level, am I thinking about the ghosts that they've talked about religiously for a year prior?
Maybe, or you could be experiencing what they've been experiencing, and you're both actually right. And it's not just they're wrong and your brain is wrong. What are the odds that all of you are wrong or all of you are right? I like the glass half full kind of thing.
I get a bit confused when it comes to ghosts, though, in the I sometimes think about, like I believe like in Darwin, right? Like I believe in like, the theory of evolution and so on. Like, where are all the chicken ghosts? Like we kill like
chicken ghosts.
Like we kill like billions of chickens every day. Like the globe should be like besieged by chickens. Like why would it be human ghosts?
I don't have the exact answer for that because I was wondering about dog ghosts the other day, but actually I have something I could follow this up with. Well, first, let me throw one thing in there, and then I'm going to say a theory. This isn't my theory. This is just some religious shit. Some religions don't believe, like I think it's Catholics, don't believe that animals have souls, which I don't think is right, but there are people that believe that kind of thing. But let me tell you about a more recent thing with me.
Yeah, do it.
So, apartment. This is it. And I, for the last like maybe year, have been experiencing like a lot of things moving around that I'm just not moving.
Right.
And the first thing that was very weird was, or the first thing that I like really acknowledged, and I was like, okay, can't explain that. In my room, there's like my bed. It's a decent sized room too. So it's not just like everything's on top of each other. There's bed, then you walk a little bit, and there's the dresser, and there's like a tall picture, maybe like this tall, and it's like thin, of like my family, the band, and my cat that passed away a couple of years ago, Jet. And I came back one morning from getting coffee, and so let me just paint you a picture. Here's the top of the dresser. The picture is like leaning against the wall. It had been there for many months, by the way. So it's not just like I had placed it there and then, something could have happened. It wasn't, whatever. So it had always just been like slightly leaning against the wall. There was also a photo album in front of it, like on, like right here. So it wouldn't just like slide. So there's a photo album, a couple beanies, a book. What else was there? I've taken pictures of it. I could roll back, but it would probably take a while. Anyway, what I'm getting at is there was definitely weight in front of it and about maybe this much space where like if it fell forward, it would just like hit. When I came home, it was always like whenever I went to go get coffee and then I'd come back, things would be moved. And I was just like, what the fuck? And I have a ring cam. I've got like cameras outside. So like if anyone comes to the door, like I'm gonna know. I get alerted and I'll have video of it. No one ever was there or anything. So I came home and that whole picture thing was on the ground, perfectly like parallel with my bed, like maybe like 7 or 8 feet across the room. Like, so it would have had to have like turned and fallen like so far, and also based on nothing, you know what I mean? Like nothing would have like moved or anything. I was just like, and I walked in and I was just looking at it like, and my first instinct was, okay, who the fuck's in here? Like I'm about to fight, and there's no one. I was like, all right, well, okay. And I was just like looking, and it was like perfectly aligned with the bed. Like my floor has like lines on it, and it was perfect. And I was just like, what the fuck? And I took pictures of it. I put it back, but stuff like that kept happening, like just like annoying little things, like stuff would be pushed off the counter, like the towel that I keep like to the right of the sink. There's like towel here. It's like, I keep it folded and shit because like I need shit to be neat. And then there's like this much space, and then the sink. I came home and it was like in the middle of the sink, like pushed in. And I was just like, weird, what? Or like the top of my laundry thing, like the laundry basket, like the lid was like pushed off, and then it was like across the hall, but like I've got like a laundry, like you open a closet basically and it's a washer dryer. It was like in the door between like the wall and door, like the top of it. And I'm just like, how the fuck would that? Anyway, multiple people were like, dude, I feel like that's just Jet, like my cat. They're like, does it feel like an evil energy? I'm like, not really. And they're like, dude, that's so cat-like to just be like fucking with little things. And like the very first thing was a picture of her. And like, you see what I mean?
Yeah, I tell you the thing that makes me a bit bummed out though is that I would like to think that if there is something else, I would like to think that my loved ones aren't hanging around just fucking with my shit. Like I would like to think that they would go somewhere and have another kind of experience,
like a reincarnation.
Well, I don't know really. Like whatever the cosmos, wanted. But
what if they're able to go back? If they feel like you're needed.
I mean, unless I've had less important relationships with people than I have, there are people I know who have passed that I would have thought would have come back to say, hey, there's something more.
Maybe they did.
What, and I just wasn't paying attention.
Maybe, I mean, signs can be subtle.
Well,
I mean, now I'm not trying to encourage like everyone looking for like the tiniest little signs because that's how you go crazy. But, but like, I don't know. I feel like there are like subtle ways of knowing. I definitely think there's something else though, because my dad, he's a nurse and he's worked in like old hospitals. Like he's worked in like, there was an old hospital he worked in for like 15 or 20 years or something. And he had a million stories, like a million. Actually, even when he was actually talking about it the other day, when his dad died, he was like in the hospital with him. And I forgot whose name he said, but he was just like, he was looking up at like the corner of the room. And he wasn't like sick or like mentally like whatever when he was going. He was just old. But it was like he like reached up. He's like, I forgot what family member name he said. He's like, whatever. Aren't you going to give me a hug? Like, what are you doing? Like that kind of thing. And then just immediately passed. I was just like, interesting. But no, I know.
I sort of felt, I felt a chill then.
Hey, but like he would also tell me like creepy stories from the hospital too. Like that's probably another reason I'm like so like in on this shit and like sure of it and like kind of like I'm whatever, very interested in it, because even as a kid he would like tell me these stories. And yeah, I know there's some creepy ones, like some real creepy ones.
I'm going to say this as a precursor to me dropping an advert into this point. I do another podcast called Spook, and I'm going to send you some links. I'll tweet you some links. One of them is I did an interview with this woman who was a coroner, and she's written a book about strange things that happened. People that she saw, people who spoke to her, people who followed her about from crime scenes. And it was really weird because when I interviewed her, she's on I can't remember what episode it is, but when I interviewed her, I thought I was just interviewing her about what it was like to spend so much time with death and what that had taught her.
And I couldn't do it.
And then basically she just busted out all of this supernatural shit, and her book is pretty wild. But the other one is there's a woman I interviewed called Hayley Stevens, who again she's on a podcast, and she would hate to be called a skeptic because she's very critical of what would be the skeptic movement. But she is
the
like,
skeptic movement's so boring. It's like you're like, how do you can't stand for like a not stance.
Yeah, no,
that's so dumb.
No, I know what you mean. I guess it's more, man, is the culture of Fortina a thing over there?
Of what?
All right, so basically there's this thing like to be Fortean, and I can't remember the Christian name of the guy, but basically it's this guy in Victorian times who lived in London, and he was very interested in the unknown, but he basically had a process. You know, it was almost like I'm fascinated by this stuff, but I'm not going to believe in this stuff blindly. And from that, like, spun this like belief system that people say that they're Fortean. There used to be a magazine in the UK called Fortean Times, and I guess I kind of come a bit from that place, really, which is just I want almost like I want to believe, but I don't want to believe blindly. And I guess that I don't want to say she's 14 because she didn't tell me she was 14, but she would tell me stories. Like, she was fascinated by ghosts and had been like doing little paranormal investigations when she was a kid, and then got to a point where she was like, I think there's a lot of bias going on here. Like, I'm not sure that I'm researching this stuff under the right conditions. And then she became, like I say, I don't want to say skeptic, but she became someone who changed the way that she was investigating stuff because she felt like it was quite amateurish the way that people were doing it. And she would tell me she told me one story that's on the podcast that I was like, that is so fucking weird. But then I would say, do you believe then? And she would say, I don't know what, I don't know, yes or no,
That's so annoying. Fuck that. Like, dude, I've got certain friends that like, I mean, I won't even play it now just because like things are going well and I don't want to fuck it up. But like, there are friends I wouldn't play the Ouija board with because they're like that. And things will happen and they'll be like, like, yeah, I just saw the blinds all flicker and like the candle go out at the same time and all this shit. But how do we really? I'm like, fuck you, man. Are you kidding? And then they like challenge it. And I'm just like, fuck off. I'm not doing this.
But wouldn't ghosts, if they wanted to get in touch with us, wouldn't they have a more sophisticated method of doing so other than a board game?
Well, first off, it's not a game, but it's in the game section. Because because marketing is just weird. But I think they do have ways. It's just like for us to be able to, they're not like in this plane. You know what I mean? Like they're like other dimensional maybe. And like it's I think it's a way for like our simple brains to comprehend it. It's like we need letters and numbers and we need to like see this shit. Because like I have a pendulum, for example, you know what I mean? But like it's just like forward, backward, side to side, circle, like okay. But a board like that, I feel like it's just like it's a way that our dumb people brain
that's really interesting.
You see what I mean?
Like, I've never really thought of that.
So many concrete ways we can see this shit. Otherwise, I'm just getting shit pushed around my apartment. Yeah,
no, I really like that. I'm really
it's pleased. Like it's less open to interpretation when you're actually having it spelled out for you.
It's almost like if you meet, I don't know, say if you're on tour and you meet someone from a different country and you can't speak their language, so there's almost like the meeting point is like, well, I guess the bridge between those cultures is sometimes people just shouting at each other, but like you draw something or you do something with your hands,
or Google Translate.
Exactly. The Ouija board is Google Translate for the unknown.
Exactly.
I feel like we've hit upon some truths today. I'm really pleased that we have reached the end of this interview without talking.
This is the end? That was so quick.
I'm so pleased that we didn't talk about music because I feel like...
Oh, me too. I don't want to talk about music right now.
I feel like there is a reason to do it again sometime because we can talk a little bit about music, but also I feel like we need to do Bigfoot. Yeah. I
want to do that. And I want to see, I don't know if it's still alive or not, but I used to watch the Loch Ness like live feed. Man. I used to have that pulled up at school. Like I would have whatever we're working on right here. And then in a little window, I would have like Loch Ness or whatever.
Man, that is amazing. I will say this before I play us out. My wife took me to Loch Ness about maybe 5 years ago. She wasn't my wife then. It was definitely the moment that I realized that I wanted this woman to be my wife.
Congrats on getting a wife.
It's pretty cool having a wife. You're too young to have a wife though, right?
Huh?
You're too young to have a wife.
I mean, people in Texas get married at like 15, so who fucking knows?
Yeah, no, totally. But no, when she took me there, it was definitely like, I think this person's a keeper. But I'd been obsessed with the Loch Ness Monster all my life, and it was kind of a bit of a disappointment. Like, it was amazing. What do you mean? Well, like, all right, so I have this problem every Halloween. So Halloween swings around, I get so excited, like it's Christmas, right? Yeah. But like, in my mind, Halloween should be like, I should get a knock at the door and there'll be like ghosts and demons and devils there, and we'll go and like take our clothes off and like dance around a bonfire and do witchy shit. And really all that happens on Halloween is you just end up like giving sweets to kids that knock on your door. So
hang on. Whoa. This is your fault. You could have made fucking plans. You could hit up a group, like make a group text and be like, this Halloween, we're being spooky. Like, we're not giving out candy. We're going to go do these things. We're going to get naked at a bonfire with a Ouija board, and we're going to summon Bigfoot and whatever.
Mate,
you could arrange this.
Well, look, if I don't leave it till the night before again, like I've done almost all my life, I may well buzz you at Halloween and say, Austin, can we do like a seance on Zoom or something?
I will be in Chicago playing a show, but maybe for like 30 minutes we can figure something out.
Well, maybe that's episode 2 of this podcast.
Okay, deal.
Listen, thanks for speaking to me, man. I hope you have a good one.
Of course, you too.
See you, man.